Coach Hall again with Sports for Real. I'm here at TIAA Bank, home of the Jaguars. Being that this is the opening day for the playoffs, I thought it would be symbolic to come here to take a picture of the stadium, seeing how empty it is, because the Jaguars, of course, they make the playoffs. Perhaps they had done less talking and more playing, they could have made the playoffs again this year. But they're going to be on the couch with my Steelers this year. And speaking of the Steelers, you know, my dad always did tell me, how you start with a woman is how you're going to finish with them. So putting that in the context of the Steelers, they started out opening day. They had a 16-point lead with about 7 minutes left and ended up blowing it, ended up in a tie, and it was that tie that cost them from going into the playoffs. But they played all year the same way. So it's no surprise to me that my Steelers didn't make the playoffs. But I've been looking at that for 40 years, and I tell you like this, the Steelers had a propensity to BS. So if you don't know what that means, look it up. And that describes the Steelers to a T. But I just wanted to give a quick review of the playoffs and give my input about how I think it's going to go. So the first game up today is the Colts and the Texans. This is, of course, division rivals. This is the third match this year. And looking at the Texans, they've been surviving by a hair all year long. And when you get to the point of the playoffs, you're either going to keep doing the same things that allow you to make it there, or you're going to fall off the wagon. And I think this is the day they're going to fall off the wagon. The Colts are red hot. They have confidence that they can play with the Texans. And I think this is the day that the Colts are going to take the playoff and move on to the next round. Now, tonight's game, you have the Cowboys and the Seahawks. Now, I'm not a fan of the Cowboys, and I never will be. But I tell you this, they're playing some decent football right now, and really all they need is a tight end to be an elite team. Having said that, they're playing against Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson, you can't hardly beat that guy. So, in my opinion, I think Seattle's going to find a way to win it tonight, and they're going to move on to the next round. Now, tomorrow's games, you have the Bears playing the Eagles in the night game, and the other game is the Ravens and the Chargers, which is also a rematch. Now, the Ravens snuck in Lamar Jackson, and he's been doing well. They went 6-1 since he's been in there, but they're not really blowing people out. And they were very fortunate to beat the Chargers the first time. So having a chance to see Lamar Jackson and getting another shot at him, I think the Chargers are going to come through and pull it out late. And finally, you have the Bears and the Eagles. And in that game there, the Bears, they have that great defense, and they should hold the Eagles down more. Let me give you some insight on the Bears defense. I had them on my fantasy team. And, you know, they for 2.5 quarters, their point total was high. They were getting all these points, and they're getting these stats and sacks. But then all of a sudden, the last quarter and a half, they started to slow down. And when they slowed down, the other team started moving the football. They started scoring points, racking up stats. So that leads you to believe, after watching it all year long, that the defense of the Bears don't have the stamina. So keep an eye on that as the playoffs progress. But today, I think with the Eagles, who are pretty magical themselves, if they can get out to a big enough lead to hold the Eagles off, because they're going to make a charge on them, I think the Bears are going to be able to pull this out. But it's going to be tight late, only because the Bears' defense fades. So having said that, recap, I'm going to go with the Colts. I'm going with the Seahawks. I'm going with the Chargers. And finally, I think that the Eagles will almost get the Bears, but fall short in the end. Sports for Real. Contact me.